Welcome to Pesto Comics Audio Edition. This is the entry for May 14, 2025. Triple Fulfillment. Naked Kaiju Woman from Parrts Unknown number 2 and Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1. Filling 3 big projects. Oh, tariffs ruined my life. Welcome back. I've been extremely busy lately, and because of that, I've started to feel burnout creep in. I've been warning for weeks that it was coming. Although I thought I was on top of it, it's becoming clear that I'm not. I have a few plates spinning at once, and I need to start choosing which ones to focus on, rather than trying to do it all at the same time. If you read the paid post on the weekend, you know that I'll be cutting back on the amount of socials that I've participated. It's not just socials, though. It's everything. In 2025, I wanted to maximize the amount of Kickstarter campaigns I could get out in a year, and in doing that, I found myself crammed with constantly launching and fulfilling without a break. I've fast-tracked my Kickstarter experience in doing this, and I've learned more than I ever would going half speed, but I didn't get much time for the creative side. Big Smoke Pulp has made it into backers' hands, but Naked Kaiju Woman came shortly after, along with From Parrts Unknown number 2 around the same time. I've been trying to keep backers updated while keeping this newsletter going, editing and hosting the Instant Ink Comic Book podcast, planning for upcoming conventions, and trying not to lose track of my full-time job. I've been surrounded by boxes for a few weeks now, and that's the least of my worries. I haven't had much time to write, so I'm making a change to prevent deadlines from slipping away entirely. Learning to draw has become more of a burden than a fun exercise given the axe swinging over my head. To be clear, I'm not complaining about any of this. I'm very happy with how this all went, and it's beyond my wildest dreams that I'd be sending packages all over the world for people who want to read the work of myself and the amazing artists and authors that I work with. None of that matters until I get the comics we've created into readers' hands. Before we get into it, I have a few updates to share with you. Project updates. From Parrts Unknown number 4 is in pre-launch. I'm likely going to push the launch of From Parrts Unknown number 4 back a week or so to make sure we can give it the gigantic launch it deserves. This double-sized finale has combined issues 4 and 5 into one mega issue, making for 40 pages of nonstop action. I'd also like to get From Parrts Unknown 2 and number 3 in backers' hands before asking these backers to join in for the finale. But I will ask that you follow. If you haven't read it at all yet, this is the best time to jump in, as you can get the whole story at once. And if you're feeling a bit more literary, Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1 on KU right now. Do you subscribe to Kindle Unlimited? I've done a quiet launch on KU in the past week, and we've already had some readers take a look. If you have it, you can too. Check out the link on Substack. This will only be available on KU until August, at which point I'll be pushing this out wide to as many digital retailers as possible, including Colo Plus, Canada's non-exclusive version of KU. Big Smoke Pulp Volume 2 call for entry. The long-awaited call for entries for Big Smoke Pulp Volume 2 is nearly here. My goal is to get this campaign launched around the same time that I did Volume 1 last year in the fall. I learned a lot with the first volume, which is something I'll talk about today, and I'm going to apply these lessons to make Volume 2 go even smoother. If you have a short story under 5,000 words, I want to read it. There's no cost to entry. If your story is accepted, authors are paid 1 Canadian penny per word, receive a free digital copy, and discounted physical copies upon funding of the Kickstarter campaign. If you're interested, you can find the entry form at bigsmokepulp.com. Media update. Hear me on 2 Geeks Talking this Saturday. If you haven't had enough of me already, you can hear me talking on 2 Geeks Talking this weekend. This is all part of the lead up to From Parrts Unknown number 4, but we'll talk about all things Pesto Comics. I had a great time chatting with Kurt. You'll enjoy seeing me squirm as he asks me some pretty straightforward questions and I struggle to answer them. Check it out on YouTube this Saturday. Newsletter updates. No longer going elsewhere. I mentioned in the preamble that I've had to make some really tough choices, and one of them is cutting back on the experimental additional newsletter that I've been putting together elsewhere in the universe. As much as I enjoyed exploring things outside of the Pesto Comics realm, it's a little too much to focus on with all the things that I need to do to grow Pesto Comics itself. It's been the least read posts of any form of this newsletter, including the paid ones, so I decided to take that as a sign and cut my losses. With all that said, given I'll be slowing down the launch cycle for upcoming Kickstarters, I'll have less posts talking about launches and postmortems and more room to do elsewhere-like posts on the regular Wednesday feed. Less is more. It'll be a theme in this post and going forward. Main story. A lot at once. 445 packages to 20 different countries. Over 700 comics and over 150 books. These are numbers that I could have only dreamed of hitting in the past. The sheer volume of packages that I've had to put together is unlike anything I've done before. That was just one challenge. Form factor was something I didn't really put too much thought into until the books arrived at my door for Big Smoke Pulp. These books are huge. My usual stay flats only worked when I was shipping one book with nothing else. When somebody ordered multiples, which happened more often than not, things got a lot more complicated. Naked Kaiju Woman, on the other hand, was just a matter of volume. It was more or less the same process I've always had with my previous campaign. The normal mailers worked great, but things got thrown out of whack once I threw in books for Big Smoke Pulp as an add-on. And that was just one add-on problem that I ran into. More on that later. Basically, comics are easy, books are hard. Rethinking the book strategy for Volume 2. I wasn't entirely naive about print on demand for books. All the tools that are available to indie authors is something I've been researching for well over a decade as I threatened to dip my toe in. Never really did. Instead of using this opportunity to try the format, I went to printers I was comfortable with for printing comics. However, books and comics are totally different things. This is news to no one, and shouldn't have been to me either, but I got excited when I designed the book. With Volume 2, I'll actually use print on demand to my advantage. I'm reworking the Pesto Comics website along with BigSmokePulp.com to integrate the print on demand tools. This means that when you order your copy of Big Smoke Pulp, or the unannounced projects that I have coming, it'll get shipped directly from the printer. I've already sent every copy of Big Smoke Pulp that I had in hand out to backers, so even Volume 1 will be managed this way going forward. It's a bit of a relief, to be honest. Comics and Reworks. For comics, I'm always going to want them in hand. I want to be able to beg and board them myself before putting them in a package. When it's a huge fulfillment like it was for Naked Kaiju Woman and from Parrts Unknown number 2, where I'm sending well over 700 comics, it can feel like a lot, but I think it's well worth it. Something I've always wanted to do and just haven't made the time to is put personal notes for repeat backers. There's quite a few, which I'm super grateful for, and I'd love to show that to them. But I always seem to find myself chasing fulfillment rather than having time to do these personal notes. If I do everything right from Parrts Unknown number 4 and the follow-up to Naked Kaiju Woman later this summer, I should be able to. I've learned a lot of specific little tricks in terms of how I organize my fulfillment area to keep me on track, and it'll allow me to do a lot more with the time I'll be saving. There's one more thing in particular that I'll be ready for. Tariff Trouble. I've been keeping an eye on Section 321 for a while now. I knew this had a chance of becoming a problem, but then Canada was exempt from a lot of tariff concerns. I thought I was free and clear of any of the issues that this would present, completely forgetting that the enamel pins I ordered as part of the Make 100 event for Naked Kaiju Woman and continued with from Parrts Unknown number 2 were made in China. As I write this, I don't have a reasonable way to ship these into the US from Canada, where I am, without having huge tariffs and fees applied. There is yet to be an option for me to cover it via DDP, as there is with other parts of the world. The tariff on a $4 item will be minimal, but the problem isn't the cash. With a lot of Canadian vendors mislabeling their shipments to circumvent the tariff, the shipping companies that I use here are refusing to ship anything manufactured in China using USPS. My only option is to ship using Canada Post, which includes a $9.95 processing fee and the tariff going DDU, meaning the receiver must pay it. This feels unreasonable. Rather than holding on to everyone's packages that happen to order a pin, I decided to send them their comics without the pin, for now. This is going to be a big cost to me as I now have to ship a brand new package whenever this whole tariff nonsense settles. As of this writing, it's already gone down from 145% to 30%. It's better this way than to have backers negotiating with the post office to get their main product, the comics, which are made and printed locally in Canada. I'll be looking for more local vendors going forward. I love the fulfillment stage of campaign, but when it becomes a burden, it can really rack up your anxiety like nothing else. For writing projects, it's all abstract. There's nothing that exists until you start writing things down on paper. It's a blank page. Being delayed on fulfillment, however, means you're surrounded by your mistakes until you start shipping everything out. For a couple of weeks, I've been surrounded by boxes, books, comics, and pins. I have a good system in place, and that system was really put to the test this time. I'm not feeling terribly overwhelmed, but I do know that things are starting to slip. I barely pushed the campaign for From Parrts Unknown number 3, and the amount of backers we got there showed it. I want to spend the time to launch with full energy from now on. If that means spacing projects out a bit more, so be it. It's also not the smartest thing to launch for Parrts Unknown number 4 before backers have had the opportunity to read number 2, let alone issue 3. Those examples are just a number of writing projects that I owe artists and editors too. If I don't get those in order, I'll have caught up with campaigns and have nothing for a year or more. Giving everything the time it deserves is really the only way to go. I've learned a lot and pushed my limit. Now I know where that is. I'm more ready than ever for the next project. I hope you'll be here to join me. Until next time, do you have experience fulfilling big orders? Any thoughts on the process? Any tips or tricks to share? Let me know in the comments. And now, coming up on the Substack, Wednesday, May 21st, not quite 40, looking over the cliff of my next decade. And Saturday, May 24th, building a Kickstarter page, finding a formula that works. And Wednesday, May 28th, Burnout Revenge, rethinking the Pesto Comics release calendar. And Wednesday, June 4th, The End, from Parrts Unknown number 4, wrapping up from Parrts Unknown with a double-sized conclusion. And where you can find me in coming months, I'll be at TCAF, the Toronto Comic Arts Festival, at the Mattamy Athletic Center from June 6th to 8th. And then a week later, from June 13th to 14th, I'll be at the Moncton Coliseum in Moncton, New Brunswick. And all the way in September, you can find me at Word on the Street at the Queen's Park Circle in Toronto. That's September 27th, 28th. I'm still on the waitlist for Fan Expo Canada in August, and I'm now on the waitlist for the Calgary Expo on April 23rd to 26th of 2026. And I'm still planning on attending New York Comic Con way out in October. And real quick, the Pesto Comics release calendar. If you look at a Substack, you can see I reworked it a bit to make it a little easier to read than the calendar I had going. It was cool to see the green and blue and see when all the projects were coming out, but this is a lot more clear about what and where you can find the upcoming projects. This includes dates from Parrts Unknown number 4, the sequels to Naked Kaiju Woman, and an unannounced project that's currently in development. And you can find the projects planned for Kindle Unlimited, including another unannounced series and Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1, which is available until August 11th. On the Instant Ink Comic Book podcast this week, we talked to Joel Glover. Speaking of Big Smoke Pulp, he's actually one of the authors that was included in that book. He actually offered something way early for Big Smoke Pulp Volume 2, and it was actually picked up by another publisher. So I'm a little disappointed to let that story go, as it was excellent, but I totally understand if I didn't open the call for entries early enough, and I'm happy to see Joel have some success elsewhere. I'm sure he'll come up with something great for Volume 2 to replace that story. And that said, if you do have a story, feel free to send it. But if you want to know what's involved and what kind of thought was put into Big Smoke Pulp, you can definitely listen to our conversation with Joel, as it was a comic book podcast. And with that, I want to thank you for listening. Again, it's one of my more subdued recordings, as I'm in the basement and everyone's still sleeping right now in the house, so I don't want to be screaming like I normally do. And you might be able to hear that my buddy Oliver here, my cat, is also awake and he wants some attention. But all that said, he's weaving in between all of the boxes that I have ready to go out to the shipper. So I'm very excited to finally get this fulfillment done. I've been surrounded by packaging mills and waiting for prints to come in. And then once those finally came in, it became a whole issue of trying to sort out the tariffs and that before I got packages together, before I finally basically gave up and decided that I'm going to deal with the enamel pin later and just get the comics in everyone's hand. So that added about a week of delay that if I had just chosen to do this sooner, could have at least relieved that burden. But live and learn. And that's kind of the whole point of this post, is that I had a lot of things to learn with all different kinds of things with this fulfillment. And more than anything, that I really do need to space all these projects out a bit more. I could certainly keep going at this pace and I could keep pushing myself, but I feel like everything is kind of diminished while I do that. I'd rather give my full energy and make sure that these projects get the full attention they deserve, rather than what happened with From Parrts Unknown number 3, where I launched that and I kind of forgot about it so that I could get working on everything else. And that's not how I want to have these campaigns go. I want to make sure they get in front of as many people as possible, and we have these big launches so that more and more people can get in the tents for Pesto Comics. And hopefully these things can start turning it a decent profit to the point that I can do more and more, and maybe even get some help with things like fulfillment and that down the road. Right now, it's a one-man show in terms of getting campaigns together and launching and fulfilling everything. I have wonderful artists and editors and all that in terms of getting the actual production of the comic done. But in terms of getting it out there, that's still all on me. I'll just say I have a birthday coming next week. It's actually on May 21st, so I reserved that slot to talk about just kind of a reflection of where my life's at right now and where I thought I'd be and where I am. And then the following week, I'll get into detail about all the shifts and changes and even announce those unannounced projects that I have listed and have just a better sense of what the rest of 2025 and the beginning of 2026 are going to look like for myself and all of the cool projects that we've got going. So with that, I'm going to get back to packaging the last 30 of the 400 some packages that I have to do. And I want to thank you for listening. It means a lot. I'll talk to you next Wednesday on my birthday, but if you truly miss me, I'll be on 2 Weeks Talking with Saturday, and you can listen to me there. So, as always, I want to thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.